Salutations everyone, this is Razor bringing you guys another Overwatch video where today I think I'm going to do a series of videos of when to and where to use every single character in Overwatch. I think I'll split up to a few videos, one for healers, one for tanks, and probably two for DPS. I'm going to go over every single character, so in case you're thinking about like how do I improve this character, when do I use this character, I want to pick up this character, how should I practice, where should I practice? These are the maps where I think that they are the best on, where they're the easiest on, and most complementary to the toolkit that they bring to the game. And we're going to start off with healers. Starting off with Ana, I think Ana is probably the best defensive healer in the game, especially when it comes to hybrids and assaults on a lot of points. I think her best defending or best overall places to play Ana is defense on Hanamura. I think that's when she's at her best. Defense on Eichenwald, both point A and point B, not as much Streets phase. Defense Numbani A, not as much in Streets phase, but great because of that high ground and all the area that she can cover. And defending on Blizzard World, and even defending on Junkertown. Any area where you have a lot of space and where there's a narrow choke the enemy has to go through. So you're able to heal your teammates from a safe distance away. You can still hit bionades on the enemy team, and you don't have to worry about anything except for, you know, a flanker, most importantly, like stealthing Sombra, which is something that you're just gonna get caught off guard on. But especially like Hanamura or Eichenwald, where there's a very narrow choke that you know the enemies are going to have a shield battle with your tanks, you can safely heal your tanks without having to worry about, a Junkrat mine coming over your Rein or your Orisa shield, or a Doomfist coming down on you, or a Widow getting an angle, or a Winston hopping in and soloing you. You don't have to worry about that because of Ana's ability to heal from a distance. The fact that she's hit scan, she's able to still hit nades from those distances. You can be on the or near the point on Hanamura and defend your team at the choke on Eichenwald. You can be at that pillar that's right next to the point, whereas your team is going to be under the bridge at the choke. Very, very safe. You'll be able to build a ton of ultimates, do some damage, and utilize your sleep darts when Ryan's trying to charge through or Winston tries to leap through. You have plenty of time and space to react to those things. So I think that's where Ana is best. That's where I mostly play her. Once again, Hanamura, Eichenwald, Numbani, and Blizzard World, and throw Junkertown, point A in there a little bit. She's actually really good on Streets phase as well. It's just point C where things get a little bit messy. But overall, those are fantastic maps for Ana. So if you want to pick up her or improve on her, those are the places where I would use her, and just make some space between you and your team, and you'll be able to get your job done. Next is Brigitte. Brigitte is very, very versatile. The fact that she's kind of part healer, part tank, part DPS, very, very unique in that way. Her ability to do some quick damage and stun, has a shield, and also can heal and kind of, defend for herself, makes her very unique. So she's kind of a plug and play where you can put in a lot of different situations, but I'm still going to tell you where she's best used. I think on King's Row is probably her best place, both on offense or defense. Lijiang Tower, Night Market, and Control Center, where things are always going to be close and most often fighting on the point. That's where Brigitte is going to be able to excel. She's going to get a lot of her shield bashes, whip-shotting people off of either Night Market or Control Center, where there's easy places to whip-shot people off of the map. Nepal Village and Shrine Sanctum, she's kind of iffy just because there's a little bit more space, but if you have the right team set up, she can fit in there perfectly. But where Village and Shrine go, almost all the fighting is going to be on the point, or she's going to have some sort of cover to easily hide behind and then shield bash once the enemy gets in close. Oasis University, she is also very, very good. There's a bit of cover. She can whip shot people off the map. On Gardens, she's a little bit iffy. Maybe Blizzard World, if you're running like triple healer, triple tank, goats comp, she's really, really good there, especially attacking point A. is, I think, one of the best strats to go for with attacking Blizzard World, is going triple healer with Brigitte. She's able to get on that point, and you want to have Brigitte in the fight because that's when she's able to get her value with her shield bash and with her healing. So Blizzard World getting quickly to that first point with like a speed boost or something gets her in that fight very, very quickly, and she's able to utilize the most out of her toolkit. She's also really good in Busan Downtown and Mecha Base, because while those are a little bit more open than other control points, they tend to narrow down to specific areas of the map. That area might move around a little bit here and there, but there's obviously going to be a lot of narrow chokes in certain situations, in places where she's just not very vulnerable, and she's able to get a lot of value out of all the things in her toolkit. Next up, we have Lucio. Lucio, of course, he's kind of been all over the place about when he's good, what meta he's good, and what maps has also kind of changed, which is a little bit different from other healers, where they're mostly the same, regardless of nerfs and buffs on what maps they want to play on. But Lucio still has some tried and true maps that he's really good on. Hanamura, attack point A, speed boosting through that choke. That's one of the hardest chokes to get through, and there's only really one way to get through, unless everyone has a climbing ability to where they can get above on that left side. So speed boosting to getting to the point, really, really good. And obviously his ultimate is fantastic on both points. Anubis attack for that same situation. That's kind of a different kind of choke because there's multiple ways to go, but speed boost and that AoE healing is going to be great. King's Row attack, he can be pretty decent, but a lot of what Lucio is able to do depends on your team's willingness to cooperate with him. But I think the best places to use Lucio would be Ilios, not Ruins, just because that's a little bit more wide open to where he's more exposed. He's not going to know where the enemy is as much, and your team is going to be spread out more often, so he's not going to be as good as a healer. So I'll switch to Zen on Ruins a lot of the time, but he's really good on the other 2 points of Ilios, getting the most out of that boop. Lijiang Tower, obviously a lot of great boop spots there, and a lot of centralized fighting to take advantage of his AoE healing. Nepal, I think he's amazing in all points of Nepal. Lots of cover, lots of places to wall ride, and a couple of spots to boot people off of the map as well. I think he's pretty decent on Oasis, if for nothing else than the fact that Oasis is very, very hard to retake, and the fact that he can avoid people in that middle area, whether on the outside, on the top, or in the inside, just wall riding around. The ability to stall on Oasis is the most value that you can get out of the ability to stall, because Oasis is such a hard point on City Center to get back. So if just nothing else for that, Lucio is really good, but of course has value on the other 2 points of Oasis as well. And for that same reason, he's also really good on Busan, especially in Sanctuary, where people can kind of hold up with turrets and choke points. With Lucio, you can kind of get to those fortified spots and tear down a weak little bunker comp pretty well with Lucio, but Lucio requires a ton of coordination unless you're on control, where there's going to be a lot of centralized fighting and places to boot people, whether into a well or into a pit of oblivion or off the map. So Lucio gonna be great on like Lijiang and Ilios and Nepal especially. Mercy. Mercy's obviously had her ups and downs, but she's never been a bad character. She's good on pretty much every map. If you don't know what to play, or if they have a Pharah on your team, obviously giving a Mercy in there is going to give you the most value out of that Pharah, and will keep that Mercy safe, especially in maps where it's a little bit more close quarters and you're not going to be able to stay on the point nearly as much as like a Lucio. Especially good and necessary, I feel like, on Junkertown defense, because there's a lot of space there. Route 66 is really good for her on defense as well as attack, but as long as she's safe, as long as she has cover to hide behind or someone on the high ground to fly away to. And she's really, really good on Eichenwald. I think it might be her second best, or easily in the top 2, because Eichenwald has so many walls, so many places to cover, so many safe places to Valkyrie and not have to worry about getting pinned down. Pharah is also good on Eichenwald, so I think Mercy has a lot of different spots where she can get a lot of value out there, but she's pretty good everywhere you know, these map lists aren't going to be the only places that they are good, or just because I don't mention them doesn't mean they're bad. These are just the spots that I play them the most and I see the most success out of them. And next we go to Moira. I feel like Moira is very, very good on Horizon, just because it's the easiest healer to coordinate with a group of uncoordinated people, since that's really hard to attack on. Dorado, I think that she's pretty good as well, especially if you're running a tank-heavy setup, which can be, you know, very easy against an uncoordinated team. Blizzard World Attack, I feel that she's quite necessary. Really good at taking out flankers, obviously those Genjis. Anywhere where Genjis might be a problem, the switch to Moira might be good regardless of the map. But she's good on Blizzard World Attack. She's going to be a lot of healing, places to fade and run behind. King's Row, she's also fairly good for a lot of those same reasons. Ilios, Lijiang, Nepal. Once again, I think Nepal is her best place, just because a lot of safe spaces and a lot of centralized fighting where you'd be able to heal multiple targets at once and get those coalescences real quick and zone people out. Especially, I feel like in Village, where the control point has a lot of walls, so she can kind of use as makeshift cover and get to teammates that need it, since there's not going to be a lot of high ground fighting or people pushing into places where she cannot get to easily. She's also very good, I feel, on Busan Mecha Base, because she can kind of control that high ground from like a Sombra or a Genji more so than a lot of other characters very safely, and those high areas are really good for tossing her orbs or balls into choke points and from enemy spawns and things like that. She's really good at playing Gatekeeper a lot in Nepal, and of course is going to be really good on the point. She can run into the mech area for cover if she needs to, and overall a lot of centralized fighting. Once again, Moira pretty good anywhere, much like Mercy, a bit easier to play, but you're not going to get the value like Rez or Valkyrie. But Moira, very, very good. Those are the maps where I like it the most. And lastly, of course, we have Zenyatta. Zenyatta, my favorite place to play him is Hollywood, especially on attack. It's where I get most of my footage for Zenyatta. It's where I have most of my gameplays of Zenyatta is on Hollywood. I think he's fantastic, especially at that first point where if you can get a Discord orb on that Rein, get the dive in, a Torb in the back, people love to put their turrets back there, or Hanzo or a Widow sniping. Zenyatta really, really good at taking them out fairly quickly, and he doesn't have to worry about people diving into your spawn nearly as much, of course dependent on the team, but very, very good at Streets phase and very good. I think his Transcendence gets the most value on this point because it's one of the more narrower escort maps as far as where people like to fight, and has a little bit of space and is going to be able to get a lot of kills because of those narrow corridors in that Discord orb. I feel like Zen's also pretty good on Gibraltar. Now he is quite vulnerable to snipers or some dive tanks on there, so I feel like he's more useful on defense than he is on attack there for those reasons, for a bit more cover and getting to charge that ult really quick. Route 66, you know, depending on what the enemy team is running, Zenyatta I think is very, very good there on all phases, except for maybe the final points where you might want a Mercy or a Moira. Blizzard World, he's pretty good, but not one of his ultimate go-tos, but I'll switch to him with Blizzard World. More so on attack, or more so on defense if we have another main healer like a Mercy or a Moira, because on attack he's a bit more vulnerable and you're not going to be able to get the value because of how spread out a lot of people like to play Blizzard World. So a little bit better on defense there. And lastly, Ilios Ruins. As I mentioned, I love Lucio on the other two parts of Ilios, but when we go to Ruins, I feel like Zenyatta has a real good snowball effect of pushing people deep with pressure of his primary and his alternate charge fire, and getting those discords on people before they have time to set up. If you control Ruins very, very quickly, Zenyatta is a great way at playing Gatekeeper of people getting another push to retake that point. So That's the first episode going over the healers of where I think they are best used in matchmaking. This isn't like, Overwatch League level stuff, but this is where I feel these characters get the most potential out of, and if you want to get better with them or start picking them up, these are the maps where I would recommend usage right now.